This is the story of a man, his faith, and a little white church. Our story begins over 170 years ago, the year 1851. Captain W.C. McCamey, his wife, children, and mother boldly left Tennessee to start a new life in Texas. They settled near a spring in Frankfort. Back then, a family could get 640 acres for free just for showing up. Soon, he was selling water and firewood to weary travelers on Preston Road. Many of the travelers stayed in Frankfort to raise their families. As frequently happens, unrelated events impacted the course of history. In the mid-1880s, the Cotton Belt Railway bypassed Frankfort to build a new depot in Noel Junction. We call it Addison today. Soon, families begin to leave Frankfort to be near this new metropolitan area, leaving Frankfort to be little more than a memory. Even though most of the Frankfort residents moved on to Noel Junction, they still returned to bury their loved ones in the Frankfort Cemetery. Seeing the need for a church, W.C. McCamey paid to build the current Frankfort Church. The completed church opened for services in 1899. Noel Junction continued to grow, and the Frankfort Township continued to decline. Regular services in the church ended around 1924, and for decades, the church building remained, for the most part, unused. Now, the story could have ended right here, but God was not finished with this little church. New life was breathed into this old building. In the early 60s, John and Alice McCamey led efforts to start regular Episcopal services in the Frankfort Church. On April 22, 1963, Bishop C. Avery Mason established the Church of the Holy Communion as a mission of the Episcopal Diocese of Dallas. Additionally, the president of the Cotton Belt Railway conveyed the old Addison Depot to the church for the grand sum of $1. In July 1972, Mrs. Jane Lunt, in a contest, submitted the winning name of the church's newsletter, the Depot Digest. God had more plans in store for this little church. On December 8, 1972, John McCamey and the McCamey family conveyed 3 acres of land to the Church of the Holy Communion, free of any cost. This gift was followed with an additional 1.6 acres of land lying north of the tree line to the east of Muirfield Drive. The 1970s were represented by rapid growth in the surrounding community. It was time to expand. First, Miller Hall was completed and dedicated on December 7, 1980. Then, on October 2, 1982, at the annual Diocesan Convention, the Church of the Holy Communion was officially elevated from a mission to a parish. Expansion continued once again. In 1995, a plan was presented to the church by the vestry to construct a new 12,000 square foot space for education and administration. This would become the Edmond Building. By September 8, 1998, the doors of the Bent Tree Episcopal School opened for the very first time with 35 very eager children. Later, Cranmer Theological Seminary began holding classes there as well. Under God's hand, and with the help of many talented clergy and parishioners, our congregation continued to flourish. In June of 2003, Vacation Church Camp attendance surpassed all previous records. and it was in that year that the shaving cream competition was born. Apparently, someone thought this was a good idea. Also, our Holy Communion service began to overflow, and a second service was added. Obviously, the Lord was directing us to expand once again. Our very own parishioner, Frank Meyer, was selected as the architect for a new church. Planning was in full swing. The construction of the new church building proceeded smoothly throughout late spring and summer of 2005. It was completed in late spring of 2006. Dedication of the new church was held on Palm Sunday, April 9, 2006, and went off without a hitch. A new organ was needed. The Dan Garland Organ Company was contracted to produce a 17-rank, 3-manual console instrument. The cost of the organ was underwritten by parishioner Andy Sugg in memory of his wife. The organ was completed and formally dedicated on April 19, 2009. In October, Andy graciously offered to provide funding to finish out the organ to its full 31-rank capacity. In the meantime, planning and construction had started on our new parish hall, Lunt Hall, with the foundation poured on April 6, 2009. The building was completed on September 9, 2009, and dedicated 4 days later. We have seen through the ages that, through God's hand, it only takes one person to start a series of events that can have effects for generations to come. Captain W.C. McCamey and his family built a little church in 1899. That small church has grown into an institution that has been allowed to spread the gospel to individuals and families worldwide. Each of you here today are continuing to write the next chapters in this story. From educating children and clergy, to feeding the poor, to sheltering the homeless, to funding health care in distant lands, our outreach ministries continue to bring God's Word to life. Our church has now become a cathedral. It will remain a beacon of shining light worldwide, and through the continuing efforts of the church, we will be successful in spreading His Word. And through many thoughtful prayers, I look for God to continue to perform His miracles and, perhaps, grant me the wisdom and the skill to someday be able to fly a little drone through unfavorable conditions, through dangerous hazards, through difficult passages, and not crash.